Happy New Year. Happy 2021. So I realized I had it wrong. I made a mistake. I thought that if one could understand who a narcissist was and a psychopath and just avoid them, then one wouldn't have any problems. Although it is good if one can identify narcissists and psychopaths and minimize contact, especially with psychopaths, right? And depending on how severe the narcissism is within them, the more severe, obviously, the more efforts must be made to avoid interacting with that person in order to avoid the toxic drain of energy, of spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, financial energy that they drain. They just drain your energy, manifested in so many different ways. But what is more important? What is the solution? What depends solely on us and remains independent upon the environment? It's difficult, but by the grace of God, it can definitely be achieved. And this is the taqwa, the God consciousness, the ikhlas, the purity that we're in this environment, we're in this situation, we're in this matter solely to express the gifts God has bestowed upon us in praise and submission to Him. We express our gifts as a means of gratitude towards Him, and we do so in such a way where we are conscious of His rights upon us and the rights others have upon us and the rights we have upon ourselves, so that we may express these talents and gifts with complete justice. And we call others to a higher level of being. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل تعالوا أتلوا ما حرم ربكم عليكم ألا تشركوا به شيئا وبالوالدين إحسانا ولا تقتلوا أولادكم خشية إملاق. And in a different verse, من إملاق نحن نرزقكم وإياهم. In a different verse, نحن نرزقهم وإياكم. Say, rise to the occasion, come to a higher level of being. قل تعالوا, raise yourselves, become high, come up to the standard of excellence, of not associating partners with God. ألا تشركوا به شيئا, of not associating anything with the Almighty and His majestic infinite oneness, in His, let me not say infinite oneness, but in His infinite majesty and in His uniqueness and in His oneness. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and to be excellent to one's parents. Yes, there may be disagreements, but the disagreements must be done in a way in which we lower our wings before our parents, which we sheathe our sword, in which we muffle, in which we lower our voices and honor our parents and treat them with utmost respect, in covering their faults and giving them the best of, having unconditional positive regard for them at all times. That is the standard. That is the standard, to forgive one's parents despite their mistakes, to understand that despite maybe perhaps their neglect, their abuse, their toxic treatment, their toxic boundaries, which their toxic, habit of crossing our boundaries, or crossing one's boundaries, one must know that this is my parent, and yes, maybe their behavior may not be prophetic, it may not be godly, it may be satanic, but I still have to honor them because they are my parents, and that's what God has commanded me to do. I will not follow those, I will not mimic those who scream and yell at their parents, who mock their parents. No. I understand that I have been blessed. We understand we have been blessed, that God has given us a guidance. God has gifted us the gift of guidance. You see in Arabic, the word guidance is huda, and the word for a gift is hadiyah. So actually, the greatest gift one can have is the gift of guidance, right? It's basically the same word, huda and huda. Those are both, they mean guidance and a gift, because, as again, right, the greatest gift is guidance, the gift of guidance. So as Abraham told his father, "Oh, my father, knowledge has come to me from God that you don't have. Follow me, I'll show you the right way." And the father replied, "I'm going to, I'm going to treat you bad. I'm going to do this and that." But Abraham never stopped praying for his father until God revealed to him that, look, the man is dead now. He was upon disbelief. It's not for a believer to pray for the forgiveness of someone who had been exposed to the truth and refused. No, it's not for a believer to pray for their forgiveness. The forgiveness is for those who believe. May God make us from the believers. So, God knows best, and so no matter what, we do our best to honor our parents. Yes, sometimes we might have to create some boundaries. Sometimes we might have to limit our interactions, but we need to do our best to serve them, massage their feet, rub their back, create an atmosphere of peace for them as much as we can. Serve them in any way that's meaningful to them. Make their lives easier for them. Yes, some parents, they may be addicts. They may be alcoholics. They may have temper tantrums. Sometimes we may have to leave at those points and come back once they're calm. Sometimes we may have to tell them that, I love you. However, your behavior is harming me, and as my parent, this hurts me. I love you, please stop. And anywhere in between, as long as we do our best to honor them. And then know that God is the one who provides. We should not be ashamed of having kids. We should not commit adultery and then add on top of that and abort an innocent life and kill an innocent life. No, it's murder. God is the one who provides. People say, I'm not going to get married because my finances aren't good. So people, they're dating 5 years, 10 years, dating, even living together, 5 years, 10 years, the same person, doing stuff married people do intimately. But the excuse that, my finances, I need to pay off my debt, or, this, that's all satanic, because God will provide. If we walk towards God, God will run towards us. If we rush towards God, we don't even know If we run towards God, the hadith says, if we reach towards God a hand's length, God will reach towards us an arm's length. If we reach towards God an arm's length, God will walk towards us. If we walk towards God, He will rush towards us. So what about if we rush towards God? Ya Allah, God, guide us. No God but God. There's no God but Allah. God means Allah. Allah means God. The one God. Only worthy of worship. The only one. So, it's up to us to do our best and be grateful, to appreciate the blessings God has given to us, to be grateful and manifest that in our actions. As is said about the family of David in the Quran, he was a blessed man. He was so grateful. His actions were that of gratitude, and he didn't shy away from saying, "I'm a great man." He didn't shy away from challenging Goliath, even before he was a prophet. Before he made that big move, he always knew he was capable. So when he saw Goliath, and no one stood up, no one stepped forth to challenge this giant, this war legend, this seemingly invincible foe. David, as a boy, as a young man, perhaps pre-pubescent, perhaps maybe 12 or 13 or 14, just a young man, he stepped forward and took down Goliath. If we're waiting to have the resources, if we're waiting to have an army behind us before we make moves, we're limiting God's capacity to interject and create miracles for us. What God wants from us is not our resources. Yes, God wants us to give Him, to spend our lives serving Him, to spend our wealth. But what God wants from us is the same thing that a poor man, that a rich man have in common, that a strong man, that a weak man have in common, is our devotion and sincerity towards Him. That is our protection from narcissists and psychopaths. Because you see, Satan is the ultimate psychopath, the ultimate narcissist, the ultimate betrayer, the ultimate liar. That's Satan. And those are the weapons God has taught us and has reinforced through His prophets and His revelation to help us defeat Satan, to help us earn God's favor, to help us stay on the straight path. So if that can be used and embodied to defeat Satan up until the last moment, what about anyone less than him? What about our, annoying neighbors? What about our abusive, friends and spouses? Yes, those are difficult, but they're not Satan. They haven't been around for millions, potentially millions or thousands and thousands of years. They don't have all that experience. They don't know us just as good as we know ourselves, or perhaps even better. And on the contrary, some people, they just want good for others. They want to see the world to be a better place. they're angelic. Now, if we look at the role of angels, the angels, they make prayers and they beg God's forgiveness for the believers, for those who try to be good people, for those who try to help God's cause, for those who attempt to worship God. The angels seek God's forgiveness for them. The angels rush to protect the believers as much as they can. So may God guide us all and make us from the believers, and make us prophetic, make us angelic, and protect us from being satanic. It's my wholehearted belief that if we, by the grace of God only alone, if with His help, with His guidance, we will be people of God, and having His light and protection around us will protect us from Satan by obeying God to the utmost of our ability, and by seeking His forgiveness. When and if and when we slip or fall. And yes, we shouldn't put ourselves in situations of difficulty. We shouldn't put ourselves in situations where we know we're amongst satanic forces. However, if those situations come upon us and we are trapped, or we feel trapped, we must stand our ground knowing that God is our protector. And if God wants good to come our way, none can remove it. None can avert it. And if God wants evil to afflict us, none, not even the angels, can avert that harm from touching us. So thank you for listening. I pray that 2021 is a year of tremendous blessing and tremendous success, amazing growth, post-traumatic growth even, for many of us, and that we're blessed and our families are blessed, and we make the most of this short life we have. Thank you.